Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Unbreakable Her podcast, where we make space for the stories of resilient women. A reminder that this month we are doing a series celebrating mothers, and the series is called Through Her Son's Eyes. Our guest today is going to share about his mother with us. We have with us none other than Tarawa T.C. Cartwright. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
you, you no, you're not. You're not going to dignitary us. You're not. You, no, you ain't. No, you ain't. Um,
Ah,
but I've known Sarah for a really long time. I've met his family, initially his sisters, and then met his family through church, being in the same church spaces. So I've known him for a long time. I consider him a brother. And again, he's got a lot of sisters, so I'm not trying to step on no toes out there. I'm just,
mm,
I'll sit in the back, but I'm in the number. Um,
oh God.
but yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know you, Tarawa, can you just give us a sense of where you grew up, how you grew up, like number of siblings in your family and where you fall in that, and then we'll take the conversation from there.
So Tarawa Cartwright, most people call me TC. The people who are close to me call me Tarawa, and that's how I know who it is because the people that are close to me don't call me TC, they call me Tarawa. So I grew up in a small town called Pocomoke City, Maryland. Actually, the slogan is the friendliest town on the Eastern Shore. And so that's where I grew up. My family is originally from the lower part of Delaware, Sussex County, from Milford, Lincoln area. I'm one of 11. My parents did not have a TV. I jokingly say that. But they took the scripture literally when it said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Uh-huh,
I'm one of
uh-huh.
11. I am number 8. I'm number 8. My mom had 2 boys and she had 5 girls and she had me.
Introduce us to your mom. Tell us your mom's name, and you do get to say her name. You get to say
Right.
her name, just so that people will know who she is. And then if someone wanted to know about your mom and you wanted to tell them who she is, and you have like a minute and 30 seconds, and they don't know anything about her, nothing about where she's from, like how would you describe her?
Wow. So my mom's name is Charlotta Nadine Cartwright. Charlotta Nadine. Jokingly, I actually call my mom by her name, believe it or not, messing with her all the time I do. Charlotta, question for you, but to describe my mother, I would say, and I'm not just saying that's because she's my mother. And I know people don't really know me, but one thing about Tarawa is I don't really know how to be fake. Um, this is who I am all the time. So my mom, and again, I'm not just saying this because she's my mom, because I would be honest, if she was a horrible mother, I'd say she's a horrible mother. But my mom has a heart of gold. She can often be misunderstood. And what I mean by that is, I've heard like in the past, people are like, I don't know, I'm scared of your mom, or she comes off a little standoffish. But my mom, her disposition is very quiet. Um, a woman of few words, but when she speaks, everyone listens. Again, heart of gold, do anything for you, take the shirt off her back. Growing up, there were so many different people. I felt like all the time somebody else was moving in with us, and again, that just spoke to who my mom was, having 11 children and then taking on other people's children, it spoke to just her heart. Like that's who she is. She just has a heart of gold. She's going to look out for people, compassionate. That's how I would describe my mom.
It's amazing how many moms, their mothering doesn't stop at their children,
Hmm.
where it's like it's just in them. And it sounds like that's something that you can point to about your mom. When you were growing up, so now we're gonna go to, little Tarawa, from as far back as you can remember, through like school age years. Can you talk a little bit about how you experienced your mom during that time?
Okay. So the young Tarawa, and honestly, now being an adult and kind of replaying some of the things in my childhood. We actually had a sister who was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 16, Tarvanda Charlene Cartwright. And unfortunately, she passed away, of course, uh, due to ovarian cancer. Um, I think there was like a moment in like my childhood where I guess, my mom was um she was with my sister. My sister was at John Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. And the reason why I say that, I know from like fourth grade to sixth grade, I was probably I was a problem child. Like I can recall getting calls from the teacher and me rushing home, to try to get home to the answering machine so I can delete the messages. Because I was such a problem child. And so growing up, I felt like my mom was very patient because I mean, even me, and I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know how in the world, 11 children, and you got church and ministry, and we got events and all of this, and still how my mom managed to, like, keep everything together. I don't know. I really don't know. And then, throw in that my sister has a terminal disease and mom is caring for her as well, right? So growing up, mom was I tell you this, I would rather get beat by my dad than get a whooping by my mother. Because I will say this, uh, I got a lot of beatings growing up, okay?
All right.
Rightfully so. I deserved every one of them. Um, but I also was a little big boy, especially like I was kind of big. Eighth grade, seventh grade, like I was a big boy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So my mom would make you lay down on your stomach and then have my brother sit on my back so she could give me a beating because I was jumping and hopping and skipping all over the place.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, yeah, I definitely say she was a very patient woman dealing with all of her kids,
Mhm.
especially me being just a problem child. I mean, I'm gonna tell the truth and shame the devil. I was the problem child.
And
Yeah,
she
I was definitely a
and
problem
she
child.
gonna stick beside him. She stuck beside him.
She
Um,
stuck beside me. She sure did.
um, can you tell like a story, several stories, like however, whatever direction you want to go in? What is something that you remember that encapsulates like who your mom is from your childhood? Like
I
this is
do.
an example.
I have a story from my childhood that I often talk about, even in ministry, and it's a true story. So, as I said, it was Andre Cocky, and then it's five girls, and then it was me. So growing up, I was kind of, if my dad wasn't around, then I was a person that would do the things around the house, whether that was the trash or cleaning the cars or fixing the cars. But I can recall when I talk about my mom's heart of compassion, and when I think about ministry now, I don't even know if she remembers it. I mean, the lady is gone, passed away now. But there was a lady that used to walk up and down the street, just, I don't, I'm assuming she didn't drive because I never saw her drive a car, but she would walk around town. We would see her around town, but she also lived down the street. Also down the street was now I know it, but I didn't know it then, but it was a drug house apparently. And I remember going with my mom um, to get that lady out of the crack house. True story. She said, Tarawa, come walk with me. We walk down the street. And I don't know why. I don't know what was going on. I'm not sure. I think, if memory serves correct, it was something like with her children, maybe like the state or somebody was trying to take her children or something. And mom went, and I remember there were bedrooms and there were like mattresses on the floor, and we're in this drug house getting this lady out of the drug house.
Wow.
And my mom got her out, and she was all like all discombobulated, and we got home, and then my mom took her somewhere. I don't know. But she said, girl, get out of here. Get out of here. You got to get
Wow.
out of here. And again, that's a vivid memory, and it tells me everything I need to know about my mom. A couple of things. That's like when I said that how mom She took in other people's children. I remember it was a girl who, still to this day, is a member of my dad's church. For a while, they lived with us, and we were taking a family picture. And I think I was out of high school, maybe like a year or two out of high school. And I remember us taking a picture, and saying, "Hey, get in the picture." And I said, "Well, she not my sister. What's she in this picture for?" You know? And mom like pinched me, and she said, "Don't you ever say that. She's a part of this family too." And that just speaks to, who my mom is. I mean, there were like, I can count at least like 5 people. They lived with us. I remember middle school, high school, like they lived with us. And so that just speaks to, again, just my mom's, her heart and the heart of compassion that she has. But definitely that's probably the most vivid memory that I have, um, as it relates to the character of my mom, that she took her son to a crack house to get another mother out of the
Mm.
crack house.
So she took you as muscle, but
Correct.
really she knew she was on a mission.
Correct.
She was on a mission. That's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like for most of us, like especially once you become an adult, you get to the point where there's like a shift in relationship, whether it's because like you mature and stop acting up, or whether it's just because you develop an understanding with your parents. At what point do you feel like there was a shift in your relationship with your mom, or like what was that shift like from child to adult, and like how did your relationship change as you started to become more independent?
So I think it changed somewhere probably after I became a father.
Mhm,
And I remember my mom, and I mean we can have this honest conversation, and I'm pretty sure my mom has had this conversation, I would think. And but I had 2 daughters, and I remember my mom calling me, and she said, I'm not taking away from the relationship between a father and his son. She said, but you have to be there for your daughters. And, I kind of like, okay, all right, mom. Like, "Oh, okay, I know, She said, no, 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 no. I need you to be there because you need to protect those girls. And then she went on to tell me stuff that I did not know. And I don't know, but I felt like my mom was vulnerable with me. And I mean, I never knew this stuff. I was like, what? But it shifted then. And I think then I saw a side of my mom that I never seen before. And I don't know, but then, we started talking more. And I don't know if it was because I was away, because I always lived away. I don't know if that's what it was, but somewhere in there, I would definitely say it was after I became a father and my daughter started getting like 4 and 5 years old. And my mom was like, hey, you got to protect these girls,
mhm,
at all cost. And again, when she kind of told me about her childhood, I would have never known it,
mhm,
right? Would have never known that. And so I think it shifted then, I mean, when I traveled, I mean, me and my mom, I'm calling her every morning, on the way to work, just talking, just shooting the breeze, right?
mhm,
And so yeah, that's when it shifted for me. I saw another side of her that I never knew existed, And also it showed me just a lot about her resilience, and, you know, it taught me a lot about why, and I think that's important because parents don't always say that. And I don't know why she decided to tell me that then, but I think for me, especially the kind of person I am, I'm not a person that you can just say, "Oh, do this," and I'm just gonna be like, "Oh, okay, sure."
mhm,
Like, you gotta explain some things to me, like, "Okay, why are we doing this?" But it explained a lot when it came to how, like, protective my parents were, in particular
mhm,
my mom, because ultimately we kinda did whatever my mom said. That's how I felt, and maybe it was, what maybe she made it look that way, that my dad ran the house, but, um, I kind of felt like my mom, whatever she said, that's how it went. But it told me a lot about why she was so protective, right? She was so protective over. It's like we couldn't stay at a lot of people's homes. We couldn't go over a lot of people's homes. Even this were family members. She was like, nope, not happening.
Mhm,
But it made me understand, like, wow, this is the reason why she was the way she was,
mhm.
simply because again, like her responsibility is to protect her children.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's really interesting that you said that she actually shared that with you, and she was vulnerable enough to give you the why. She was giving you the directives or the advice that she was giving you, because a lot of parents, I think, don't go that far. So they will
Correct.
say, "Hey, you should do this," or "Make sure you don't do that," but they don't go as far as opening themselves up and saying, like, "This is why. I've lived this experience and I'm telling you from what I've experienced." So I think, to your point, it's really powerful to have a parent do that,
Mhm.
because I think oftentimes we view our parents, as superheroes,
Right.
or we're just not aware that they've experienced some really traumatic things.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why we aren't aware is because some parents just still, like, loved and cared for us and everybody else in spite of all the stuff that they experienced and went through and the stuff that they were carrying. So I think it's a really powerful thing that she not only gave the instruction but also shared, was vulnerable enough to give you the why from a personal
Mhm.
place.
Yeah.
So that's a really powerful thing. Um, what would you say is part of your mom's character or personality that you have?
So, I know exactly what part of my mother I have, and that is my mom can walk into any room and not know a person, and she's gonna leave knowing everything about them, right? Um, I mean, when I visit, I remember one time, this had to be like 5 years ago. I went down on a random like Tuesday, took the day off, go down to visit mom. It was like around Mother's Day that weekend or that week. So let's say it's like, I think it was like a Thursday, like a random Thursday or Friday. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go spend time with mom for Mother's Day. And Pocomoke City, right? The only thing they have there is a Walmart, okay, and a Lowe's. And my mom had me in Walmart to pick up, like, I don't know, some milk and cheese. I was in Walmart for 3.5 hours.
I already knew where you were going.
And
I already knew.
mom sat on it. They had, I'll never forget, they had like this, they had like an outdoor swing set that you can like put on your porch. And I, after a while, just sat there. And mom was just sitting there talking to everybody. Hey, Miss Clara, how you doing? Hey, baby, how you doing? How's your mom doing? And blah, blah. I'm like, mom, like, bruh, why? You, 3 hours. I'm not exaggerating. It was
Mhm.
3 hours. And she was saying, no, it wasn't. Yes, it was 3 hours, mom. Because after that first hour, I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, man, can we get what we came here for? And yeah. And so I'm the same way. I know it. And I mean, I'm the worst. I know, but oh, we can talk. Oh, I sit and talk with you for hours, hours and hours. We can do this for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, that's me. So I know that's a part of my mother. Definitely, that is Charlotta Cartwright all day long. Is that I can go anywhere, and people say it all the time. Oh, or somebody gonna know me. Oh, somebody gonna know. Oh, I'm like, no, that's not true. Boy, you know everybody. I'm like, no, I don't. Then it's like I go somewhere and they be like, I told you. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, my mom. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
There it is. There it
yep,
is.
definitely
Um,
mamas.
so what is something that your mother has, a way about her, part of her character, or her personality, that you want your daughters to have?
Hmm. So I definitely would say two things. One of them is discernment. My mother has a gift, and I mean, serious gift. There have been times that my mom now, it never happened to me, thank the Lord, but I remember a time, and I'm not gonna get into the story, but Andre knows the story I'm talking about if he ever watches this podcast, but she told Andre something that was going on and that nobody would have known. And we're getting ready to leave. I'm like, it's like we're down in Pocomo. It was a holiday or something. We get ready to leave to go back home. Mom comes to the car and tells Andre something and gives him a warning. And it was like one of those awkward moments where you're like, I didn't mention anything else. I turned the music up and we drove. I didn't say anything else to him. A couple of years later, I said, Ray, you remember when mom said X, Y, and Z? That when she warned you about something that was going to happen? And he said, I said, what was going on? He said, oh, I was doing blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what? And she has discernment, man. Like, I mean, she has a gift. Growing up, talk about scared. My mom, she be praying. We used to have 6 o'clock prayer, right? So, I grew up in a real old school Pentecostal church. We had 6 o'clock prayer every single night. I don't care if growing up, we had a basketball court in our backyard. And so all the neighborhood would be there at 6 o'clock. Everybody that was outside, if you wanted to continue to play basketball, you had to come inside and pray. Okay. And mom would be praying and and I'm going in and I'm in and you like, oh God. So I mean she goes into praying and goes into speaking in tongues. And so she has a gift. So I'm saying all that to say I definitely will want my daughters to have that gift of discernment, right? And I would also say um the lady in my mom, like that dainty, prissy lady. I think is so cute. She wears her shawls and she's oh, 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 oh. I love it. It's cute. You know what I mean? The mom dresses up like she's going to Sunday morning Easter on her birthday. My mom gets dressed like she's going to Holy Convocation at the Church of God in Christ on her birthday every year. I'm at full-fledged hat, suit for her birthday. You would think the woman is going to Holy Convocation, the woman's night of the Holy Convocation, right? But nope, she is, that's just who she is. So I definitely think like, especially as my daughters now, I mean, the oldest daughter just is getting ready to graduate high school in 2 weeks. And so I definitely want her to have that level of discernment where she will um be able to navigate, right? Navigate the just vicissitudes of life, right? Um, and she can navigate them with the discernment to know good and evil, right from wrong, and all that good stuff.
I love that you mentioned your mom's sort of like dainty demeanor alongside all the ways that you've described her strength and resilience, because it really speaks to the fact that they are not mutually exclusive. Like,
Correct.
to be to have the ability to be soft, or to have a softness about you, or a daintiness, or a particular type of femininity, doesn't cancel out strength.
Correct.
So I like that you mentioned, you talked about her resilience, and then you also mentioned that as well. So I really appreciate your ability to um, talk about the ways you've experienced your mom. And what I wanted to do with this series, because this space is about the resilience of women, and it's always going to be about that. But I also wanted to find a way to have the male voices connected to these resilient women have something to say, about them as well. Um, So the last thing I'm going to get you to do is to just look right into your camera, and like whatever you want to say to your mom for Mother's Day, but also just in general, whatever is flowing from your heart and your mind, your emotions, whatever it is that you want to say. to your mom to celebrate her during the time when this is what we do, we celebrate moms, just do that.
Wow. Mom, Charlotta. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all of your sacrifices. I want to thank you for all of your prayers. I want to thank you for the subtle nudges that you would give. Um, I want to thank you for not giving up on me. I want to thank you for pushing me sometimes beyond what I think I had the capacity to carry. I want to thank you for the words that you even gave on my birthday. Um, I repeat and replay them over and over again. Um, about Isaac and the wells. And Mom, you are literally the backbone of our family. Your strength is unmatched. And to watch you um kind of sit in the shadows, if you will, of your children, of dad, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but um, to watch you do that, to watch you carry ministry. I watch you as I said, like going to, um, get people out of crack houses, and I want to thank you for your example. You are the definition of a strong black woman. And I love you for it. And I'll love you, as we say, olive juice. I love you um, for the rest of my life.
Well put. I think we'll cap here unless you have anything else you want to add, any other stories you got to tell or anything. Um, no, I think this is great, and I appreciate you for taking the time.
Of course.
You're at work and busy as always, so
Right.
I don't take it for granted that you spent this time with with the folks, and yeah. Until next time.
Until next
Um,
time.
until next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Unbreakable Heart podcast. And until next time, stay unbreakable.